Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and come in here and sort of place these puck lights and talk about arranging lights and dimensioning. So I'm going to say I want 5 of these lights. I want them to be 6 feet off of the edge of this sort of drop down here for the ceiling, and then 4 feet off of the edge, each side. So that would be a lot of like mathematical calculations for me to do that, but we can use some of Revit's dimensioning tools to help us do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick this lighting fixture, and it's going to give me listening dimensions, these blue dimensions, and you can actually pick this little blue dot and pull it to where you want it to be, right? So I'm going to go ahead and go in and go to medium here, and it's going to show me the wall system, right? So if I pick this guy, it's going there, and I actually want it to go to the wall core, right? So let's see if we can get it in here. And the distance from that, I want that to be 6 feet, right? So if I undo that, let me Control Z back until I'm here. Basically what you do is you pick what you want to dimension, and then you can pick this little blue dot and move it to where you want it, right? And it has stronger pulls. If you need to get into something like this stud wall here, you're going to have to be dragging it and tap the tab key until it shows up. And then if you change this to 6 feet, it's going to move that to 6 feet. And then you click off and the dimensions go away. I'm going to take this and copy it 5 times because we want, or 4 times, because we need 5 of them. So there's 4, 5. And then I'm going to use dimensions in another way. So I'm going to go to my align dimension, and I'm just going to dimension to the center of each one of these, and you can see it picking that center line, right? And click on nothing. And I accidentally clicked off of the dimension, so I'm just going to pick it again. You'll get an EQ sign here, and you can click that, and now all of those are equaled out. Now I can come in and pick this. It gives me that listening dimension. I can come over and pull it right to, and tap the tab key until it hits that. Type in 4 feet. It moves that guy to 4 feet, and do the same thing with this one. Right, it's doing a weird dimension like over here, but I'm just going to pick that and pull it, It's kind of hard to get this one. This wall is not, we're just going to do it to the edge of this wall since it has a curtain wall in it. And then we can type that in at 4 feet, right? And then that centers those in there. Now if we wanted to tell it, that this was a center line, right, we can do that. So you could come in, and at this point I would probably just go to annotate and detail line, and maybe draw a line right here. Or actually we could do it on the dimension. So there is actually a symbol. If you go to the annotate and symbol, go to the pull down, there's a center line, and so you can just say, center line of room, like that, and put that guy in there. You can also come in here and get rid of the EQ, and it'll give you the dimensions, right, which is a little 27, 30 seconds, right, is what we're getting, which is a little crazy. You could go in and pick these dimensions and see what our Century Gothic Gray does. Yeah, you could go to edit type and duplicate it, or go ahead and tell it down here under units format to not use the project settings, and maybe we only go to like 1/2 inch, right, and click OK, and then it kind of 3 foot 10, 3 foot 10, 3 foot 10. So using Revit to go in and figure out how those guys are spaced is, works pretty well, and it gets you pretty close to where you want to be, so I would recommend doing that. Okay, so a couple of other things. You want to be able to put spot elevations on your ceilings so they know how far they are from the level that they're associated with. So also under the annotate is a spot coordinate, right, and a spot elevation. So I'm going to go to spot elevation, and if you hover, right, it'll come over and click a spot elevation on there. You need to check a couple of things. Usually you want to get rid of the leader if you can fit it onto the ceiling like that. And then you have a couple of different spot elevations. I'm going to pick the, it says target project, which is fine. Is that what we want? But I'm going to go to crosshair project, right? And it gives a little bit less, and here's one that's 23, right? So you want to go in and do that for those guys. So basic dimensions, locating things. So where do they measure from? If they measure from the center line of the room and then go out 3'10", right? Or you could measure from the wall. So if you were coming in and measuring from the wall, you would do an aligned dimension, from the center of this guy, and then you could tell it to pick the core faces if you want to, and it would pick those guys out, or you could tap the tab key. So you could start that there if that was important. If it wasn't centered, you could start from 4 feet and then go 3'10", 3'10", 3'10". So that's kind of the beginning of how you would start to arrange those.